What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today is a very special day for me because it is my 1 year boob anniversary. That's right, a year ago I had my boobs redone and I cannot believe it's already been a year. That did go by really fast, but I'm excited to share some of the ups and downs, some of the issues I've had, some of the benefits, some of the struggles, the why behind it, all the things with you today on this episode. But I'm in a red dress right now and I'm going to switch into a bikini top. However, I wanted to show you this dress was actually one of the reasons, and it was like the last straw as to me saying like, okay, I had committed to this surgery and I put this dress on to go out one night in Miami with my friends, and it was a symmetry that was the issue for me. I had one breast that was kind of down and out, and I had one that was still sitting kind of perky, but not really sitting where it was supposed to sit. And when you wear a dress like this that shows a little bit under boob, cleavage, you notice literally every issue that could possibly be on somebody's breasts. So I felt like anything that was wrong with my breasts at the time was completely exposed in this dress because you couldn't miss it. So that's kind of why we're starting this video in this dress, because I had pulled this dress out and I was like, this is the one that made me feel the most insecure. But I love it. I love wearing red. I love showing cleavage. I enjoy getting dressed up. But this was one of those dresses that it just made me feel so insecure when it should make me feel incredibly sexy. Now I feel very sexy in this dress. So that was one of the main reasons why I had my breasts redone, and one of those days where I felt like, okay, this is the right decision. I have got to do this. So I'm going to switch into a bikini and then we are going to really dive into this. Okay, switching into a bikini before obvious reasons. I wanted to show so this is not on very tight. It is on actually loose. My breasts sit like even. I have side boob, I have under boob, I have all the cleavage. So those were a couple things that when I went to Dr. Revis, I had kind of targeted. He was like, you know, what look are we going for? And I wanted them to be fuller. My biggest struggle before was I'm very muscular. My back especially is very muscular. And when you look at me from behind, I wanted you to be able to see, which may sound crazy to some people, I wanted to see a little bit of breast because then it made me look a little bit more feminine, where prior you just saw like back full of muscle, which also muscle is very sexy, don't get me wrong, but I knew that I wanted to see a little something extra. So if we got that side boob going, I felt like we would achieve that look. And I never really had a good side boob before because they were hanging and doing whatever they wanted to do. Now, because they sit nice and high, I have a very full rounded side boob, which I love. Same thing with the under boob. I have a very full under boob, and most outfits, if they're supposed to have, I'll say all outfits, if it's supposed to have under boob, I have under boob. And before, I felt like you could tell when a boob is just hanging, and I had that struggle. So, and then the other thing I wanted to show wearing a bikini was the symmetry. You could definitely see the symmetry in my breasts. That was another big struggle, like I said, in the dress. I did not have that prior, and I do have that now, and I am very, very happy that I do. So, struggles. Going back to the gym, I took so much time off. What happened with my breasts was I had done the internal bra, and breast augmentation typically takes, I would say, anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks before you can start getting into normal activity. Because of the internal bra, it's 12 weeks of recovery until the internal bra heals. 12 weeks equals 3 months equals a very, very long time for somebody that works out every day, sometimes twice a day. So that struggle, and I didn't really wrap my head around it until my follow-up appointment, like the day after surgery, when we're talking about my routine and what we're going to be looking for and my photos I'm going to be sending him, you know, every week, whatever. And he says, remember, the internal bra takes 12 weeks to heal. And I was like, oh, I missed that. I know we went over it before, but it's one of those things that's like, oh, it like really hits you hard knowing like 12 weeks of recovery. But what does that really mean? So that meant that I couldn't jump around, I couldn't run, I couldn't obviously train chest. I had to be careful in like not just my breast, but the area surrounding my breast, because the internal bra is stitched in. So even core exercises were a bit of a struggle in the beginning, because when you're extending and contracting your core, that's where the internal bra is actually stitched. So I felt literally everything. So when we got home, I knew I needed to do something to be active. So Chris was so wonderful. He bought me a leash for our Doberman Shadow, and she needs to burn energy. She's a high energy dog. So he bought me a leash that I could wrap around my waist, and I was literally able to walk her without physically holding her. She was held by my waist, which also helped me with my core, because in order to keep her under control, or if she, got a little crazy, I could check her a little bit by like popping my hip, and it jolted her. But it also, like, I was flexing my abs when I was doing it, so I was inadvertently working my core and getting cardio in, because I was walking. I was not walking fast, there was no bouncing, but I was able to get out there and walk. So if you are somebody that has excuses, go out there and walk. It takes nothing to walk. It can be exhausting when you're doing miles and miles. And I started with, 2 or 3, and I was up to like 5 miles a day. So, and I was enjoying it, and Shadow really enjoyed it and looked forward to it, and I mean, it was great. So that was where I started. Then fast forward, now my surgery was April 12th. Fast forward, Memorial Day. Burn Boot Camp has this Memorial Day workout, and I felt like I just want to go, and I was still paying my membership, so I was like, I want to move. I could do air squats. Like, there are certain things I know I'll be able to do. There was a run, I was not running. So I went to the gym, and I was able to do sit-ups. This is probably about 6 weeks post-op. This was the first time I got back into boot camp. And after that day, I'm telling you, I was like, I could scale everything. It's like no hero, just get there and get it done. So I went in, I was doing like air squats, I could do sit-ups. I would bring my Squeeze Me Skinny band, put it around my legs. So when people were going for a run, I was doing banded walks. Like, guys, when I tell you, you could do like anything as long as it wasn't bouncing around, it felt great. So it's just a matter of being creative. And seriously, I say this all the time, and a lot of girls reach out and ask questions, and sometimes husbands or boyfriends reach out and ask questions. If you have a question, don't hesitate to ask me, because I've lived through it. I've done this multiple times, and I will tell you that this procedure was the most cautious that I had ever been. It had been a couple months before I really started getting into upper body. When I did train upper body, it was, we're talking 10s and 12s with dumbbells, which is so stupid light for me. But it was like going through the movements and like focusing on contraction of the muscle. I could not go overhead because I felt the stretching. So I was just careful, right? So if something did irritate me, even if I didn't think it should have irritated me, if I felt like it wasn't a good idea, we're not doing it. I literally even did like Romanian deadlifts without holding weight. Like, I literally went through the motions. So you can work out. It's just a matter of being very cautious. And I encourage you, if you're going to go through this, or if you're going through it right now, do not return to the gym too fast without listening to your body and being very, very slow. Like, literally tiptoe back into the gym. Plyometrics. Boot camp. Lots of plyometrics. I learned very quickly that jumping irritated me. So what I started doing, the struggle was real. I started wearing like 2 sports bras to the gym. I'm literally up to 3 sports bras on like cardio days at the gym, because I don't want them to bounce. Bouncing is not good. So when you're working out, you do not want them to bounce. So if I'm doing anything like jump rope or running or jumping over a hurdle or jumping jacks or what have you, I'm wearing like 3 sports bras. And for me, like the workouts are posted in advance, at least a type of day, like of athletic conditioning or, Metcon or speed and agility. I know like those days I'm going to need to like triple up on my sports bras. On a basic strength day, 2 is fine. But I am very cautious as to how many sports bras I wear on what training day, because I know that if I don't dress appropriately, I'm going to have to scale back the workout. So that's one of like the big like struggles that I have. It did take me a really long time to do any kind of jumping. I waited more than 12 weeks to do any kind of jumping. I'm going to say that again. I waited more than 12 weeks. It was stressful and I didn't like it, but it was something that had to be done. And when you make a commitment, like having a elective procedure, it's a good idea to follow instruction. So I did follow instruction. Okay, so getting away from like the fitness aspect of this, the biggest benefits to having my breast augmentation, number one, because they were so, I want to say sloppy, floppy, both work. Because they weren't sitting where they were supposed to, I felt like I was constantly like fidgeting with my top, trying to like bring them in. I would take photos and I'd have to like put an arm in front. Actually, if you go back on my Instagram, you'll actually see the way that I would stand to bring them together, because they weren't sitting where they were supposed to. And if I had brought my arm in, I could create a little bit more symmetry, or the illusion of more symmetry. So the fidgeting was an issue. Obviously the symmetry was an issue. That also pours into confidence. I felt a huge lack of confidence because I was always fidgeting. When you see somebody fidgeting, it definitely looks like there's a lack of confidence issue. And it's like, girl, just sit up and like own it. And you are who you are and you're beautiful. And I was not feeling that. I felt every time I fidgeted, I felt like people were staring at me, and it was an uncomfortable feeling. So all those things are, I think, a good reason. If you're feeling all those things and you're thinking, wow, if I had breast augmentation, maybe I would feel more self-confidence. Self-confidence is one of those things that only you can feel. Nobody can make you feel that. And I had people saying like, you didn't need to do that. Why did you do that? Why did you get your breast redone? Why did you go bigger? There's all these like things, but it doesn't matter what other people say. It matters how you feel inside. So my breasts were an issue in my mind, and now I feel confident. It's not like, oh, I got these big boobs and, I'm never going to feel confident. I don't know what I could do to feel more confident. I do feel confident. I feel great. I feel like I should have felt for the last like 5 years, but because of the way I compete and the way that I push myself, they didn't sit the way they were supposed to, unfortunately. So now that I'm not competing anymore and I can train the way that my body needs to train, I was able to have my breast redone. So I am very happy. And going into that confidence, it's funny because I got back from my surgery, and about a week and a half to 2 weeks after surgery, we were invited to a birthday party, and it was for one of my good friends, and everybody's drinking and having a good time. And a friend of a friend came up to me and said, girl, I always thought you could have been a 10, but your boobs weren't good. But now you're a 10. And I was like, did she really just say that? Number one. And Chris was like, she's drunk. And number two, thank you for the compliment. But I couldn't believe somebody would say that. And it made me think like there may have been more people that had looked at me and been like, oh, those boobs. So it wasn't the nicest thing to say, but it was kind of like a compliment. But confidence, guys, it goes back to confidence. So I'm very happy that I went to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Dr. Revis, South Florida, because he did a tremendous job. I'm incredibly happy. I tell people, do your homework, do your research, make sure you find the surgeon that's right for you. I am very confident that Dr. Revis was the right surgeon for this job. and I would 100% do this again if I had to make this decision. If we go back a year ago and I had to make this decision, I am 100% going in that door, having surgery, and embracing the confidence that I was about to embark on, because confidence is everything and I feel great. So ladies, if you are considering breast augmentation, reach out. Girls email me all the time, KristenGraham.KG@gmail.com. I don't mind answering questions. You can throw your comments below, ask questions there. I'm here, I'm an open book, and that's why I put this stuff out there. So I hope you guys like this video. Happy 1 year boobiversary to me. And I will see you guys next time.